Welcome to Grow Overload, and let's start off with Nvidia. And this is, some exciting news if you're here in the United States and you've been hearing about the CHIPS Act and everything else been going on and the money being spent here for fabs inside the United States because the TSMC's Arizona has now had the first Blackwell chip from Nvidia that's been made here. So this is progress here. Nvidia seems to be embracing it as Jensen was up there showing off the first fab or first wafer there that has been produced, and there's progress there. We'll see where this all goes because it seems like this whole fab thing. We've had many other countries now come up with fabs, and Nvidia is the first one to kind of get something out of the U.S. one and have a whole hoopla about it. So that's pretty cool. Nvidia did also, if I find it here, update their drivers. They had a new driver update as well. They did some bug fixes there on their Game Ready driver, and also some general fixes as well. And so there's that if you are interested in it. So that was for Arc Raiders was the main game that they were getting the game ready for. And let's see, we're going through this. Let's see, I think that is it for the Nvidia stuff. I didn't really have any Intel stuff this week. It was a little lighter on the news there, but we'll jump into AMD because AMD had a little bit of news here that was talked about, which was the ooh, actually, there's one more NVIDIA thing that I forgot to talk about here. And this is going to actually go into the AMD thing that I was going to start with, which is their video cards had this, and there was four more burn cables for RTX 50 series cards, and according on Reddit, in the last couple days, or in 2 days, right? Not the last couple days, this article was a few days ago, but we're still getting melted, and there's still advice there, to reduce the risk. Make sure you're doing ATX 3.1 PSU, you're using the native 12 volt 2x6 leads, fully inserted, make sure the latch clicks. And it's getting to the point, did we ever have this? I've been in this arena of building computers for longer than I care to admit, but when I was younger and we were building all these, I don't remember this problem being there. The PCI 8 connector, from my recollection, never had this. And, there was a time where they were trying to push it quite a bit out of that connector. So, even with the overclockers and everything else, I don't remember all this melting. And here we continue to have it. It's just one concern I have with these cards. I think for the vast majority of people, it seems to be working quite well. But when you have these melting issues come up, when we're dealing with, making sure that power is good and the risk of fire, you probably need to maybe do something a little bit more, I'm guessing. This is disappointing. I don't know where the blame is. I just think that as an industry, it's instead of just blaming where this is sitting at, is that we should really kind of just fix it and make sure that this doesn't happen, to make sure it's a safe experience for everyone. Because let's say this happens on a pre-build for somebody that doesn't like to dive in and get want to build their computer and everything else, right? They just want to buy it in game or something, and this were to happen and cause downtime. This is going to be something that they maybe don't want to deal with and want to avoid. And I think that's one thing where I think the industry should take it much more seriously, because there's tinkerers and stuff like me that are willing to be like, okay, we got to send this in, we got to fix this, RMAs and stuff while there's downtime. We want to learn about it and try to make it better. And there's other people that just don't want to have a problem with this. And this is where, for one, if you're getting something like this and it's constantly melting, again, it can turn people off to the whole, well, computer thing. My laptop doesn't do this, my console doesn't do this, right? There's stuff like that. So uh, I think just being a little bit safer as a whole would be a good idea. And jumping into that on the AMD side, again, the Sapphire Radeon RX 70 XT Nitro Plus has the 12 volt 2x6 connector, and that blue connector did melt. So sapphires, yeah. So this is on the nitro. I don't know if it's the nitro or if it's a blue tip connector, of how what was bad. This is one of those things. Again, it's on a Corsair RM1000 PSU, which didn't have the native 16. Right, this is the adapter. You think the adapters would be very well tested. Again, I don't know where the blame sits. Again, when it was more of just an Nvidia problem, it still was, maybe Nvidia taking more initiative there. But now AMD cards have it. It's got to be an AMD Nvidia power supply initiative to get that PSU standard ironed out here, right? They changed from the high volt 12 power connector to the 12 volt 2x6. That old connector was a weird wonky name, but I don't remember. And this is, here we are again having it, and these GPUs I don't think are pushing, and the 97s aren't. The 5090s might be pushing it a little bit, but if you're anything underneath that, you should have enough headroom there as well. This is, I I really want this to go away, because it's one of those things that would be great if we can just all be like, you know what, fine, let's get rid of the PCI 8. We'll go to this new 12 volt 2x6. It's reliable. Well, maybe now it's going to be what, 2x6 12 volt, right, when the next generation comes out. But okay, this is a connector. It's working. It's safe. You don't have to worry about it. Plug and go. You don't have to worry about 50 different checks to make sure, did I plug it in all the way. They're even coloring it to make sure you're plugging it all the way. And we've gone a long way to just making the computer just work when we plug in the graphics card, to not worrying if it has to melt, and if the connector is going to melt. And I don't think that that's the right direction we should have been going in. I get that you want to deliver more power to the graphics card, but there's other, let's figure it out and do a little bit better job there. So still on the AMD side of things, this is, we've heard about this. I think Moore's Law is Dead has mentioned this a little bit, which is AMD Sound Wave. And I was reading this on video cards as well. And this is, a code name for an APU that's been around for a while. And we've talked about how there's, more ARM stuff, I think, coming, especially from Microsoft pushing it. Then you have Nvidia's kind of ARM chip that's in the, that's coming, plus the one that's already in the Nintendo Switch. And you start thinking about where this is leading to. One of the things I thought about with the Nvidia relationship with Intel is that there is a upcoming competition between really two companies, and I don't know where Intel's going to sit on this. And when I was reading this article this week, it really kind of came to me that AMD's going to make this sound wave chips. We'll see where it goes, if it is in Windows stuff. I'm guessing Microsoft's going to want something like this in there, and maybe they're going to have Nvidia too. Then you have three manufacturers of ARM chips with graphics out there. So you have, Nvidia, you'll have AMD, and then you'll have Qualcomm. Will be really interesting to see how that all lines up. Again, Nvidia partnership with Intel, I think, is for the x86 license to be able to compete in that market. So they have that as well, and they can have a full lineup. AMD has a full lineup, and you start looking at this, and the competition is between those two companies. I don't know where Intel's going to sit on this. This is why I think Intel still needs to figure out its direction a little bit. Maybe they go with just fabs, and they're just a fab company, which I think that would be feasible. Maybe they do something like ARM and design x86 stuff, where then they license it out and let other companies build that x86 on top of it. That would be interesting there as well, because you potentially have, some other companies out there that might be willing to purchase that. But that's just something here that I was thinking of. But there's rumors about the Soundwave stuff and it coming out there. It's going to be below 10 watts APU. Windows on ARM is what they're looking at. It's 2 P cores, 4 E cores, and has 4 RDNA 3.5 units on there. And so that's interesting, right? That's a low power handheld on ARM. Is this something that would have been used in the Xbox handheld? Who knows? that it is an interesting device. I think it's something out there that to keep a watch on, because I think that there is still a place for stuff like this in the market, but we'll see if it actually comes to fruition, because a lot of the Windows on ARM stuff, I personally think, needs a lot of work. Now, Microsoft may disagree, but by the sheer fact that there is, a lot of returns, and I think people steer away from it once they kind of know what it is, and people are still steering people away from it, I think is one reason to say you need to put some more effort into it if you expect it to take off. Now, jumping in the next topic, I think is a good one for AMD overall. They're competing with CUDA, right? CUDA is just the standard all over the place, used a lot. Rcom is making headways. More and more people are using Rcom here, but and we're not going to get, the one API stuff was maybe even though Rcom's open source, I think there was the one where Intel was hoping everyone use one API and we'd all be together and it'd be in harmony where everything would be just working. It doesn't matter what GPU, what CPU, we're all just working. I don't know if we're going to get there. Would like to see it, but I do like the open source stuff a lot, more than closed source. But the Rcom 7.0.2 will have the RX 9060 support. This is what AMD needs. They need to make sure that all their graphics cards are supported in the latest Rcom, and that their cards, that people can go and use their cards for stuff that then are able to be used on the bigger stuff, the same code back and forth, right? This is how Nvidia got entrenched in a lot of places, I think, because you had the people sitting at home that want to tinker like me, and they start using that card, and all of a sudden, guess what? That card is going to show up, and when they get asked, hey, you're developing something, that developer, what do you want to use? Why don't we use the cards that I'm already using? It has a good stack, can be transferred over, works really well. I think that is a good move by AMD to keep getting this stuff out there. They have to keep pushing it. I think Rcom, you listen to Level 1 text and you kind of see where that's at. Yeah, they're closing the gap quite a bit and making it much closer on the CUDA side, to what Nvidia already has done. So they're closing that gap there with Rcom, and you start seeing that this could be a good thing for them going forward. And I think competition like this is a good thing for the whole industry, because I think it's going to push forward. In fact, you kind of look at where OpenAI is. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be using Rcom or whatever else, but the MI50, that's going to be a big thing, as they push forward. As them closing the gap between Nvidia. That was a big deal, I think, because they could have easily just kept with Nvidia, but they decided to go and do a mix, which is something to keep an eye on going forward. So, Colorful is going to launch a motherboard. It's an X870E motherboard, and it looks kind of cool. Frozen Arc. The images were on video cards, and looks really kind of cool. The motherboard as a whole. Don't know if it will be sold outside of China yet. Also, don't know the price, but should be able to support the next gen, as we heard, Zen 6, but it also has 7, 8, 9000 series processors, and you're getting a 16 2 plus 1 phase VRM design. Well, I mean, when it finally comes out, we'll see how the BIOS all goes. We'll see, as people test it, how it all works. We'll even see if it fries CPUs, right? Which, on that topic of frying CPUs, not that one that was just fried, but ASRock did confirm that their 800 series motherboards will get Zen 6 support. I fully think that even the 650s or the 600 series will get Zen 6 support. I mean, they should. If not, that will be very disappointing that we went through and we didn't get that. But we'll see here as it continues down of the release cycle of Zen 6, right? We're getting closer and closer every day. And so at some point, I'm sure AMD will announce that, and then the motherboard companies will come out with it as well. And in my opinion, that they should support it, right? Their old motherboards did. and the AM4 sockets of how they worked, and that worked out really well for them. I think, made a lot of people a fan of theirs because of that support of longevity. Now, AMD does, Nvidia has their whole stack, right, of compute and everything else with their server racks and everything. And AMD now is getting out its own, right? They have Helios, and those racks will be able to be bought here soon with the MI400s AI accelerators in them. So we got next year to go to get these out, but for everything that they're doing for, right, they got the UA link for the scale up, UEC Ethernet for the scale out stuff. A lot of really cool abilities here, and they're trying to compete where Nvidia is with all their racks, right? They got that big monster with the 4 GPUs they keep, Nvidia kept on stage all the time. Then they show off their little racks, and I'm forgetting the name of their racks. But you have the Epic with the Insect GPUs, the Open Fabric stuff. This is something for data centers that AMD really wants to get into. It's basically competing with Nvidia on all this stuff. Really, here we're kind of focused on, basically the two competing juggernauts here, I think, is Nvidia and AMD. AMD by market cap size is much smaller, but I, I think that between those two, right, they're really trying to push forward. This is where Intel, I think, kind of has to reconfigure itself. While they may go in the CPU and stuff, they really have to rethink of kind of what they're doing to get back into here. I mean, they got to deal with Nvidia. We're going to see in the next, by 2030 here what Intel's really kind of deciding to do and how they step forward on it. Yeah, we'll see what they do, and if they change things up, right, it could take longer, but I think it's okay on the Intel side of things to take a little bit longer to get yourself right. You just don't want to go bankrupt in that time. AMD went through it, and look at where AMD is today. I think many people say, oh, Intel's down and out. I kind of see it as, I think Nvidia had a rough patch back in the day, back when I was much, much younger. And what happens is, as long as you're able to hook onto something and make something and take a chance on something, make something good, you have an opportunity here to really show it off and go forward on it. So let's jump over to some power supply stuff. This kind of looks pretty interesting here. Uh, the LIAN Li, right? They got some new RB power supplies. WCCF Tech had this, and I was looking at this cable management stuff. They made sure that if you want a clean PC with cable management, that this is the power supply to buy. They've really made it interesting. It is a 3.1 ATX standard on there. Does have the 12 volt 2x6 there as well, and let's see, they got GPUs from 550 up to 750, pretty reasonable prices, 5-year warranties on it, and if you want something with being able to have smart routing and cleaner builds, this is the power supply for you. Now, on the power supply topic, since we're talking about those, happens to be at the same time, guess what? Corsair has Corsair has that Shift PSU, which, by the way, I have used, works really well, especially in the builds. A lot cleaner access. You can get to the cables a lot better. If you have a case with enough space on that side, really a great option, something I would consider. Now, they are the HIX Shift PSU, so these are not the cheap ones, right? They're 1,000 watt, 1,200 watt, and 1,500 watt capable PSUs with the Shift, and they come with the Corsair iLink or IQ Link, right? That's what it's called, and you're getting it for $339, $399, and $459, depending upon how much wattage you want. But if you're up into there, you want a little bit easier build with the Shift to be more access, especially if your case has that little extra room on the side to be able to plug it in, so you don't have to take your hand behind there and be like guessing, oh, I finally got it in. They did a good job with the Shift. When I built with the Shift, well, that was a couple years ago now, when I helped my neighbors build his computer up, and it worked really well. So We got that. What else? Let's see here. Let's talk about some Microsoft before we get into some gaming here. Let's start with this one, which I like, which is Windows 10, right, has been shut down first, or support. If you're listening to Louis Rossmann, highly recommend you go check him out. Neil Wind had this article where Windows 10 refugees are going to different Linuxes, but then also, Windows 10 is no longer supported unless you're in certain countries like Europe, which Louis Rossmann was talking about, where Microsoft is supporting that. It's just a mess. Microsoft does not know how to run anything anymore, in my opinion. I mean, they make a lot of money, but trying to do what's best for consumers is at a loss for them. They don't understand the consumer anymore, and because of it, right, people are finally starting to look at different alternatives. And this is one of the problems where you get into where a company is so dominant in an area, everyone's reliant on it, so we don't really have the ability to know. Or to go to a different product. Well, now we're finally starting to do that. It seems like Zorn, and maybe I'll download this and try this out. I got a laptop here that's running Windows 10. I got a lot of PCs that are running Windows 10. But maybe I'll try Zorn on the laptop a little bit, and that's a good idea because I want my kids to get used to Linux as well. So maybe I'll even get my wife used to Linux. That may be a little bit harder task, but I think a lot of this stuff, when you're looking at it, Zorn had what 100,000 downloads in just over 2 days, and you're looking at this of what can happen, and it's. I think Microsoft is opening up the door for more people to move to Linux with their aggressive stance on support now, and how they're treating their customers, not creating local accounts on Windows 11. And this is where it gets to where Microsoft isn't thinking about the customer, it's thinking about trying to push something. And you can do both, right? You can be innovative and think about the customer, but I think those are disconnected here. And with Steam putting a lot of effort into Proton, getting games running on there, a lot of people would say the year of the desktop would have been, Windows 8 timeframe or whatever else. I actually don't agree. And the reason why I don't agree with people saying it would have already happened is because people like to play games, and not all the software was there. There's a lot of productivity software only developed in Windows at the time, only done there, and now we are seeing more and more software that is cross-platform always. So it's built on, a lot of the Qt stuff built in, different back ends so that they are cross-platform. And as Proton keeps getting better, games keep realizing maybe, and more people go in and play on Linux with Steam Decks or whatever else, maybe there's going to be more stuff where people are going to be like, well, let's now build on both. I think the biggest thing in the year of the desktop, when that will start happening, is, well, one, when stuff like this happens, but you start get games where there's enough players on Linux that then all of a sudden the Linux players are like, yep, all the games I kind of want to play, I'd like to play that game, but it isn't on Linux, so I'll probably skip it, and that's a significant amount of players that then the game studio has to go, we have to build this on Linux. I think if you get to that point, that's when the switch will start happening quite a little bit faster. And I'll tell you this, I'm probably going to start moving a lot more stuff to Linux on my personal systems a lot. I mean, I use it at work a lot, so it's something that I do. I build software on both. When I think about building a software, designing a software, it's got to run on both. So I think we're coming more and more full circle to this, and I think more people are getting excited about that. So Microsoft will stay on the Windows 10 thing, did offer extended security updates for $30 here. So one-time purchase, you can get it, or 1,000 rewards points. This might be something for people to do if they want to stick on Windows 10 there and not go to Linux, but it's something that I'm going to keep up and pay attention to as Microsoft there. Microsoft did come out, this is on Neowin as well, and say that they want better Windows drivers through their policies, the Windows hardware compatibility program is going to be much better. So, as they want stricter policies for better drivers, right? Now, this makes sense, and they can do some of this now since Windows 10 has dropped. Now, I get that whole aspect of let's improve the drivers and stuff, but you have to have backwards compatibility. I'm interested to see how this goes with graphics drivers, because right now graphics drivers still will be supporting Windows 10, but if they want to do some of the stricter stuff in Windows 11, that will be restrictive there for what they can do. My guess is it's going to take a couple years for this to kind of iron itself out, because unless they're going to retroactively and make sure, I guess they kind of can, right? They're only supporting so many versions of Windows 11. They can force this up on the users or on the developers to get that done. So that's something to watch as it comes. Now, Neowind had this where, they said something big is coming to Windows 11 this week from Microsoft saying that. And the something big, I think, is what they're talking about, is that they wanted, where is this, AI PCs, where you're talking to your PCs. Um, you know, this goes hand in hand with the whole upgrade. It's no better time to upgrade, blah, 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 right? And while you could say people want the Copilot actions and saying yes to a PC or whatever else, I don't see a ton of people always using the, hey, whatever, you got Siri, you got Google, you got Alexa. While they're in the homes, it's not a dominant thing. It's on your phone, right? Mine's turned off. I don't use it that often. If I'm using text-to-speaks, I use the text-to-speaks from the Futu keyboard. Really good keyboard, by the way. And that's kind of all I do. For me, work at home, but there's, other people in the house, so I don't want to create a ruckus by just talking to a PC all the time. If I'm in a room with other people, I'm not going to be doing it. If I'm in an office, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I need to talk to the PC all the time. While, here, Microsoft is pushing it, right, with their blog post. Neowind, or Video Cards, had a whole breakdown of a little bit of Copilot 11 of talking to your computer. Maybe this is the thing that they're talking about coming to your PC next week and everything else. We'll see. But they're saying that this conversational input is going to be transformative um, for the new PC. I can see it for typing a lot. They even mentioned get rid of the start button. There's dumber things Microsoft has done in their UI, but now that'll be put up there. This is one of those things where you got to be a little bit concerned of what's going on, and be a little bit mindful of how people actually use the PC. Again, like I said, you can be innovative. Just don't ignore how the consumer uses the PC. If you want to make, the normal tasks where I'm typing the start button and I actually am typing for a program, maybe make that a little bit better, Microsoft. Start there with your AI stuff. So when I type something in, I don't have to type .exe in order for it to launch the program, where I can just type the name and it goes there. I have to be exact spelling. My spelling is not all the best. Maybe make that a little bit more leeway there. These are annoyances which I hope Microsoft will be able to fix, but only time will tell, because yeah, there's I don't think Microsoft's always going through and figuring that out. Now, before we get into gaming here and close this out, Microsoft, I guess we're kind of in gaming here. Anyways, with Microsoft having an issue here of their brand, we've kind of talked about this. The broken image, according to Video Cards, is putting it that way. Wisconsin PR to Windows Central because somebody took a picture of Xbox hardware going away from stores, going away from Target. Target and Walmart, among other retailers, remain committed to partners and, for partners for Xbox consoles, accessories, and games. So, again, Microsoft, this is what I said in multiple, is that you have to have a plan I said you have to be able to carry the Xbox fans forward and give them a plan and some respect of who they are. Microsoft's putting this on themselves. You can say, oh, it's hardware disappearing. People are out there and assuming this stuff because they're taking pictures where it is and whatever else, and somebody says it's a false whatever, right? I, this is what you brought on to yourself because of the poor communication across the board and raising price and everything else. Showing this stuff is just, it's, you can do stuff like this, but you have to communicate it, and they're not doing that, and it's disappointing to see. I had Xbox, finally got rid of it. Hopefully the guy that bought it is enjoying it. It looks like he was going to play a lot more than me anyways. He wanted to play Borderlands 4, so kudos to him. But these are things where I'm just like, gosh, Microsoft, you could have done such a better job. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, because it would take me a little bit of time to get my head around everything they wanted to do and how to exactly word it. But bring your fans forward, bring them and you treat them with the utmost respect. It's what you got for the Xbox brand. Without the Xbox fans, you just got some games. You got Game Pass, which will probably lose subscribers. You got the console, which is probably losing console players. And then what do you got there? You got nothing. You just got this Xbox thing because you decided to burn and it to the ground and not talk about it, all because somebody was thinking that that's the best financial reasons to go about doing it. Then you have to produce games that people are willing to buy, and if you're going to put Xbox on them, people are going to be like, oh man, I don't know. I mean, is this going to be a good game considering what Microsoft's done to everything else? You're not helping it out. I get it. There's financials you have to meet and everything else. But a financial person is not normally the best idea for making a product and saving a product and developing a product in the best way possible. While you maybe have financial restrictions, and a financial person is great for that, saying where the guardrails are of how much you can spend or not, they're not best at making the decisions for how to approach and make decisions on how something needs to be gone about. That's just history on that part. Now, more on the gaming side, Atari has this new controller. So it's or new controller, new console. So the Atari revives its intelligence with the television with Intellivision Sprint console. So this is pretty interesting here. Of the you got the joystick, or you got the disc controller there, and it's got a few games on it, quite a few. It's got Armor Battle, Astro Mash, all the way down to Frog Golf, or Frog Bog Golf down there. Video Cards had this. Go check that out. But it was I thought it was priced at priced at $150. If that's something, it's got HDMI on it. If that's something you're interested in, that's not a bad price overall to jump on that as well. So we'll end this here in a couple more gaming things. Age of Empires, the next one, the new one that's supposedly going to be coming out at some point, is going to be looking at Unreal 5 engine. So a lot of stuff Microsoft's doing is Unreal 5 engine. Them not having to do engine development is probably saving them some money, since they spent $70 billion plus on, well, what was it, about $80 to $90 billion on game studios. They're trying to save some money there, and they're going to Unreal Engine 5, so we'll see how that turns out. We have Battlefield 6 is just absolutely selling like crazy. It has 6.5 million units sold already, over $350 million in revenue, and it is very popular. Has about 20% on Xbox, 23% or 24% about on PlayStation, and then Steam is about 56%. So they are going through and selling a lot of those games. And then Star Wars Eclipse. This looks like it's going to be a competitive multiplayer game, and they're moving away from the single player aspect of it. This is something where other game studios have been successful. I'm a much more of a single player person, so kind of sad to see, but if they want to go multiplayer and it helps them grow and they can deliver a good game that we all, that at least the people that are playing it enjoy, I'm not going to be too upset at it. But what is it, EA doing this? I think, well, I don't remember if it's EA doing it or any. Okay, if it's any game studio doing it, it's full microtransactions. Probably not going to be the best result, but we'll see how that all works. With that, thank you so much for supporting Gray Overload and helping this channel grow. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, watch none of my videos. That really does help out the channel. I really do appreciate it too, of you helping this channel grow. Thank you so much. Until next time, God bless.